Laura.
Hello.
Welcome to the Sweet Take, which is Milkshake's interview series. And we are honestly so pumped to meet you in person here at the Miami Grand Prix. You are a powerhouse in journalism and
Thank you.
also a role model to so many women around the world. And our audience often asks how to get into F1 and what's it like being a female in motorsport. So I'm super excited to chat with you.
I'm so excited. Thank you very much. I'm so glad we found the time and we're in this lovely little spot now to be able to chat. So thanks very much for inviting me.
Maybe we can first start with your journey and a little bit about your background. When did you start in F1? Did you have a big break that got you into...
So, yeah, in a sense. So I was sort of working in a number of different sports to start off with. And I think that's one of my big key pieces of advice is that do lots of different sports and really learn the trade in a number of different ways before you kind of get to Formula One, whether that's grassroots motorsport, whether that's lower leagues, or for me, it was a bit of rugby, it was some cycling, tennis. I did so many different sports and lots of different jobs as well. And then ultimately, I was asked to present 4 rounds of the World Rallycross Championship. And I didn't know anything about rallycross, but I said yes. And then immediately fell in love with it and fell in love with being in a paddock and weirdly just felt really actually at home with it. It was so strange. And then from there, I got asked basically to work the Belgian Grand Prix.
And what year was
that was 2019 as the track TV presenter there. So that was my first taste of Formula One. It was a pretty memorable weekend for lots of different reasons, not least because, of course, it was the weekend that saw the death of Antoine Hubert in Formula 2. So it was a really difficult introduction to motorsport and to Formula 1 and Formula 2, but one that I'll never forget. And I just fell in love with the sport immediately. And then from there, kind of worked quite a lot from home during COVID, doing some driver interviews and fan interaction bits on Zoom and virtually and all that stuff we used to do back then. And then, from 2021 on, I started working a kind of full-ish season, so 12 to 16 races. And then in 2023, I was asked to be the lead presenter for F1 TV, which has been like a joy.
So cool. How have you seen F1 and journalism change since 2019 to where you are?
Wow. Well, I think COVID really accelerated like the virtual world and social media and what you could do online. Just even during COVID, everyone was doing Instagram lives, right? Everyone was kind of like doing their little series and going live in the evenings. I did so much of that. And it was a great way to kind of keep presenting while sitting at home on my own, basically. And I think that accelerated a real sort of a social media boom. And then you coupled that with Drive to Survive and also the rise in female fans of Formula One. And it's just meant that the landscape of digital journalism, broadcasting, content creation, influencing, the whole thing has changed massively from a very linear journalistic approach to how you report on sport previously. And it's been amazing to see. And I think firstly, to see a sport with 42% female fan base is extraordinary. Most sports are at best 70-30 at best, and so I think F1 has done amazing things to open the doors for women in that sense. I think the female fan base have actually prized some doors open too, and I'm very proud to be a woman in this sport, working at the forefront of it and loving what I do so much. So it's definitely changed for the better, and it keeps you on your toes as a journalist because the audience now is so well informed, so knowledgeable. They often know almost as much in terms of what's going on in the rumour mill as you do in the paddock, which is incredible. Yeah. It's such a community, such a massive community. And so definitely keeps you on your toes. Yeah, you've got to be good.
I also think women have a sixth sense when it comes to gossip and being able to find out and pull that thread and figure out what's going on. At Jeddah, I saw on iSports 3 female broadcasters, and they're not a single male broadcaster. I was like, that is a really big change from what it used to be.
It's incredible. And I think that's the thing is that we talk about F1 being a male-dominated sport, and there is no doubt it absolutely is in certain aspects. When you look in the garages, on the pit wall, the 20 drivers, the 10 team principals. But there are absolutely amazing women who are, up towards the upper echelons of management, of organizational. There are so many women working in media, and there are so many women working in front of the camera as well. You mentioned there Sky Sports, they had Natalie Pinkham, Bernie Collins, they had Naomi Schiff, Jamie Chadwick. Oh no, Naomi wasn't in Saudi, was she? Yes. They had Jamie Chadwick, they had Rachel Brooks as well reporting. You know, we have myself, we've got Ruth Buscombe as well. We sometimes have Alice Powell. I know she's on Channel 4 this weekend. There are amazing women. There's Rosanna Tennant on 5 Live. There are so many women, and that's just English speaking. British. Yeah, if you look at other broadcasters as well, so many amazing women, which is so important for... I use the word inspiring. It's so important, though, for allowing the next generation to see that this is a really viable pathway.
Yeah.
I think until you can see something, you can't imagine yourself doing it. It sounds simple, and you think, well, you can just be a trailblazer. Just being a trailblazer is really hard. And I kind of stand here as a woman working in Formula One, but knowing that there are many amazing women who've had to fight very hard before me to be given half a chance, taken half as seriously, that's given me the opportunities I have now, and hopefully we'll continue fighting to keep those doors open for the women and girls behind us as well. But for sure, there are many doing really, really hard work, and the visibility is so important for young girls coming up to see that this is something they can do as well.
Yeah, we need more people interested, getting into it, going to school for it, so that the talent pool grows and there's more people to choose from. Just like how we need more girls getting into karting, so that maybe there will be an F1 driver.
Exactly. It's the rule of numbers, right? If you have more people who are getting into it at grassroots and building and learning, then you will ultimately have more who rise to the top, and karting is a prime example of that. As participation grows, we will see more and more young women coming into F4, F1 Academy, GB3, whatever it may be. They'll be climbing those ranks.
Yeah. Let's switch gears a little bit to your journalism style and your interview style. How would you describe it?
Interesting. I've actually never been asked that question, I don't think. So that's a very good question. I think I'd like to be, warm and empathetic are 2 words that I hope comes across. I think you always have to remember that the person you're interviewing is ultimately a human being.
Yeah.
So even if they're a 7-time world champion or a 4-time world champion, or they just had a terrible race, or they're disappointed, or they're a bit grumpy, they're a human being with emotions. I know these guys have seemingly keep their emotions super in check, but they spill out a lot of the time. And so you've got to be really respectful, I think, of the effort that they're putting in, of their time, of their energy. And so I try and really suss out and gauge that energy and how willing they must be to talk or not be. So I'd say that's definitely a key approach I have. I also like to be a bit cheeky and fun. I do like to kind of take the mick a bit. It's a very British saying. I like to have a bit of banter back and forth. I think that's nice to again show that human side of them. Yeah, I think that's there. I don't know. Yeah. How would you describe it?
For sure. I think that it's very personable. It's probably how I would describe it. How would you balance being empathetic, but also needing to ask some of the tougher questions?
Yeah, sometimes it's about how you ask those questions. So I think exactly right. Sometimes you have to say, you did crash today, or you have been out-qualified by your teammate X amount of times, or you reel off some stat that is horrible for them to hear. So you've got to do it in a way where you're kind of, I'm sorry I'm going to ask this, or sorry to see you in this situation. Yes. I have to ask.
Right.
You kind of preface it with a bit of a human touch that hopefully just lets the driver see that you're not kind of there gloating or trying to get a gotcha journalism moment. You are there saying, I'm doing my job, you've got to do yours, we'll make it as painless as possible.
What's been your most memorable interview to date?
Oh, I'm asked this, I don't know. This memorable interview, this might take me too long to
Okay, what about one that's gone off the rails?
Well, okay, the rookie round table. That went off the rails to an extent in the moment. And I was like, I kind of expected that with 5 sort of like 18 to 22-year-olds. I kind of expected it to be a little bit Gen Z online heavy. Yeah. Fully ready to embrace that and really enjoy that kind of content. And so I was kind of trying to bring it back. I think with the rookie roundtable, what you don't see behind the camera, we had the 5 team PR officers staring at me with their clocks out going, you need to finish in 2 minutes. And they're off talking about something crazy. And I'm like, guys, I've got 3 more questions we've got to get through, because there are also questions that we needed to hit as well. So there are constraints to an interview situation like that. I'd loved for it to have gone on for, an amount of time. Yeah. But then the bit that was clipped up about Fernando Alonso being a rookie, as Kimi Antonelli rightly pointed out, that went off the rails. I was not aware of that would have quite such a strong online reaction to me just trying to keep the interview on the, on the straight and narrow.
Yeah.
Never underestimate the rookies.
They bring the best energy. I absolutely love like that. So transparent, so genuine.
They're lovely to interview. Kimmy and Ollie are especially, and actually all of them, but Kimmy and Ollie have got such this sort of like exuberant, joyful kind of, I say childlike, I don't mean that, but a real playful energy that's really fun. And I hope that all of the rookies keep hold of that kind of energy, because I feel like an environment like this is such high pressure. You don't want it to kind of crush that spirit.
Yeah.
So hopefully it won't.
Yeah.
But they're great characters, all five of them. Isaac Hadjar's had a brilliant start to the season. You know, Gabriel Bortoletto came into that rookie roundtable late, but firing loads of shots. So I loved it. So, yeah.
Well, we have to touch on a couple headlines,
Sure.
obviously going on in F1 right now. What is your take on actually what's going on at Red Bull? And are they really, really in trouble?
It's an interesting one, because every time we sort of go, Red Bull are in trouble, Max is going to leave, Max pulls out a wonder lap and they pick up a podium. So it's really hard to think they're down and out, because every time you think they're out, Max pulls something out of absolutely nowhere. Whether he'll stay, I mean, there's rumours now that Helmut Marko may be leaving at the end of the year. He himself nodded towards Sebastian Vettel being a natural replacement. You know, there's rumours Max will leave, kind of Helmut Marko himself alluding to that. It's a really difficult one to gauge. I think time will tell. Isn't the happiest of camps. I think it's safe to say, for sure. From kind of at the top down, and the management of that second seat has been super controversial coming into this season. You know, whether we think Yuki should have always had that seat or not, the way they treated Liam was very brutal. It was super harsh on him. It kind of is something that would kill the confidence of any young kid. And it also, the way that second seat and that car is behaving does put Sergio Perez's performances into a slightly different light as well, that maybe this car is just so difficult to drive. But saying that, then Max pulls out the Japan lap, the Saudi lap. So it's super difficult to gauge and to read, but it is an interesting one heading into 26, with rumours that they may not get on top of the power unit and the new regs, to see whether this is the start of a bit of a slippery slope down before a kind of reset. And that's a natural cyclical situation that does happen in Formula One. Look at Mercedes, for example. Dominated for so many years and then had to rebuild through 22 up to now, and then we'll see where they hit the ground running from or not through 26.
What is a headline that you believe people should be talking more about that we're not?
I suppose we are talking about it, but I wonder if it will grow a little bit in intensity, is whether Lewis Hamilton can get to grips with Ferrari, with the Ferrari he's in, because it's not just a problem that's come with this Ferrari, it seems to be a problem that's been with him through Mercedes as well. And so it's whether it's a car-specific issue with certain iterations of the Mercedes and the Ferrari, or whether it's an issue with the cars in this regulation. And I think we'll probably begin to see a bit more of that. But I guess it speaks to how difficult these cars are to drive, that a 7-time world champ is finding it so tricky to adapt to this new Ferrari that he's in. And I think it speaks to me of the capacity these guys have to drive almost as an extension of their own bodies, as their own brains. You know, they don't think I'm going to turn now. It just is within them to do so. And so when they have to start thinking, their capacity is therefore limited. And it demonstrates how good a driver they are, that we are seeing some of these teething issues now, and sort of the level that they're at, I suppose. So I think how Lewis, and to an extent then Ferrari, can turn things around is something that I'm keeping a bit of an eye on.
He had that win at the sprint race.
Yes.
And that very big glimmer of hope, and I'm not sure what happened.
Yeah, and obviously they then got disqualified, didn't they, in the race? So whether that's to do with the ride height at which they can run the car, and obviously they can run it lower with less fuel in a sprint race. We've got a sprint race here, so they may come to the fore a little bit there. We'll see, but he's kind of still having, I guess, a few issues in qualifying. I think everybody in the sport would love to see Lewis back to, his very best, and comfortable and confident.
Yeah.
What a fairy tale that would be as well. But we're kind of 5 races in now, and Ferrari aren't where they want to be, and Lewis, isn't, and he's blaming himself, and it's tough to hear. So there's a number of super interesting narratives and arcs that we're following at the moment.
I mean, I hear him always talk about having to change his driving style, and I've never heard him in previous years always talk about, I'm trying to change my style for the car.
Exactly. And it just goes to show you how ingrained these habits and styles are to the drivers, and so to change them, it is just just, suddenly Carlos Sainz is the same, saying he's got to find a way to bring the car to him or bring himself to the car. And I think Lewis is in the same boat where he's got to bring the car closer to him and move himself to the car. It sounds, and they're doing this at 300 kilometers an hour.
I know.
That's the other thing, right?
Yeah.
I don't know how they're doing it.
I know. Well, I don't want to keep much of your time. Let's end with a milkshake tradition, which is called Checkered Confessions.
Oh my gosh.
Five questions, and it's just first response, first reaction, one word answers. Okay.
Okay. Oh my God.
So
I overthink these all the time. Okay, I'll do my best.
Okay. So first one, driver you would want to party with versus vacation with.
Ooh, party with on the current grid.
Yes.
Do you know? I think Max is pretty. I think he can go quite
The distance.
Yeah, I think Max, he loves a G&T, doesn't he? Yeah, I have seen Max out in Austin before as well, and I think he was having a really good time. I'd say maybe Max Verstappen.
Yeah.
Valtteri Bottas came to mind quite quickly as well. I feel like he'd be great to have a beer with. Vacation with. My God, I don't know. I don't know if I want to go.
Or a team that you would be.
A team. I'm thinking way too hard about this, aren't I? Come back to me on that.
Okay,
Come back to me.
Night race or day race?
I really love a night race, actually. I think there's something about watching Formula One machinery under the lights that's super special, but I wouldn't want every race to be like that. So I think that they sort of stand out, don't they?
Yeah.
But then there's nothing beats a mega hot European afternoon. So I don't know. All racing, but yeah, night race is a little something.
Miami or Monaco?
Ooh, God, I'm in Miami right now. I think, look, I love this race. I love the paddock. I love the vibe. It's so vibrant. It's so over the top in the very best way. But there is something about standing in that Monaco marina, watching cars somehow get round the tight and twisty, normal public streets of Monaco that is so unbelievably special. Monaco, though the racing doesn't always deliver, it'll be interesting to see the 2-stop mandatory pit stops this year. Monaco for me is it's the jewel in the crown. It's the race they all want to win for a reason, isn't it? Yeah, Monaco.
Okay. Which driver has the most different on-camera versus off-camera personality?
I would say, what I will say is Ollie Behrman is, he's becoming very, sort of, in some interviews, he can be very, very mature and giving us really good answers and that really earnest side to him. And then suddenly he'll just go off on a little tangent and it'll be something completely crazy. So Ollie can have those moments.
Yeah. And then last one. So we are standing at the Abu Dhabi Grand Prix at the end of 2025. Mm-hmm. What is the thing that you are going to predict that you would not expect from this year?
Oh, okay. Not that we wouldn't expect.
That you'll be talking.
Oh,
could be anything. Could be made up.
Maybe Max Verstappen's future, where he may end up. Yeah. That's probably something we are expecting to be talking about, though. Something we're not expecting. Go on, I'll put it out there. A Williams on top of the midfield P5. Yeah. Yeah, that's what I'm going for. Okay, driver or team I go on vacation with? Oh, I go for a Williams.
Yeah?
Yeah, I think Alex and Carlos that'd be good fun. Yeah, and then if you throw James Vowles in, perfect. Yeah,
we'll go Williams. Incredible job.
Yeah,
incredible
job. One of the most incredibly fascinating people to interview as well.
Yeah.
I learned so much.
Yeah.
Thank you. That was really fun.
Thank you.